Coming up on Retiring Well.
You're going to identify some different time periods in your life. And you're going to say, well, I want to have so much money short term, maybe in the next 5 years or something, and so much money in the midterm, and so much money long term.
And the idea is simply this: if I know what my base income needs are, and I know what I can count on for guaranteed income like Social Security or pensions, all right, where am I going to make up the difference?
Just simply being diversified doesn't mean that your income plan is going to be successful or have a high probability of success. You're exactly right. There needs to be different pieces set aside.
Retiring Well, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well, where we believe your best is yet to come.
Welcome to Retiring Well. I'm your host, Michael Reese. We have a terrific show lined up for you this week. We are talking about this concept known as 3 different ways that you can take your retirement income. So, as my father used to tell me when I was a young child, he said, son, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Well, guess what? That's true in a lot of areas of life. It's also true when it comes to taking retirement income. There is no one right way. So we're going to hit some different paths that you could go down in order to enjoy a lifetime of retirement comfortably and happily. Now, the first one, just to kind of give you that high level, number one, we're going to talk about just what's called a systematic withdrawal approach. It's essentially where you start out and you say, all right, here's how much money I have. Here's how much I'm going to start taking out each year. Typically 4% is a number that's been used in the past. They call it the 4% rule. And then what you do every year is essentially you're going to take that income and you're going to increase it each year with inflation. We're going to talk about how that works out over time, especially in today's environment. Next, we're going to dive into something called the flooring approach. And, you know, at a very high level, it's basically where you create a floor of income, a base level of income that you need to live on comfortably. And then you start working in those extras like that travel, etc., that might be important to you. And then the third process that we'll talk about is called the bucket approach, or the different account approach. That one's kind of interesting because essentially what you're doing there is you're going to identify some different time periods in your life. And you're going to say, well, I want to have so much money short term, maybe in the next 5 years or something, and so much money in the midterm, and so much money long term. And you start breaking it out, and you're using different buckets to deliver income at different times of your life. You know, the reality is, which one's going to be best for you? Well, we don't know. I mean, it all depends on your circumstances, doesn't it? But the point is, you need to understand that there's more than one way to do this. And hopefully throughout the show today, we're going to be able to give you some options and different choices so that you can look at that and say, wow, maybe that one might be better for me, or maybe this one over here might be better for me. The key is, like anything in life, you're different, your neighbor's different, I'm different, we're all different. Let's make sure that we're following an approach that best fits you. And that way you can enjoy your retirement, at least have the highest probability of having financial success in your retirement years. All right, we're going to have a great show. I don't want you going anywhere. We'll be right back.
Today's retirement challenges can be mastered. Knowledge is power because you can confidently plan ahead and make educated financial decisions for a successful and comfortable retirement. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, Northern Michigan's financial advisors specializing in retirement planning with offices in Traverse City, Petoskey, and Gaylord. And we invite you to an informative and exciting live event with a complimentary gourmet dinner. You'll learn how to use the new tax reform to your advantage, the best way to generate lifetime income, how to identify and manage financial challenges, how to reduce your tax liability and increase your cash flow, how to maintain growth opportunities and reduce risk, and much more. Call 888-608-5700 5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, December 11th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City, or Wednesday, December 12th at the Otsego Grand Event Center in Gaylord. The live event starts at 6 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event. Educated financial decisions. Call 888-608-5825 today. Retiring Well is now also airing on radio, bringing you insights from Northern Michigan's financial advisors specializing in retirement planning. Every Sunday at noon on WTCM AM 580. Don't miss Retiring Well Radio, every Sunday at noon on WTCM AM 580.
Welcome back, folks. As you can see, I'm sitting here with Larry Flynn, one of the lead advisors at Centennial Wealth Advisory. Larry, thanks for being here with us today.
Mike. Appreciate it.
So we're talking about 3 different ways to take income this week, you know, things like the systematic approach and flooring and bucketing. Let's start off with, you know, the old school, you know, what you and I would do for people, 15, 20 years ago, and that's kind of the systematic 4% rule. Why don't you share with the folks what that's all about?
Well, Mike, what we would do, right, is set them up with what we would call a very well-diversified portfolio, right? A good mix of stocks and various different stocks in different sectors, and then a certain amount over in the fixed income side or bond side. Right?
So like a balanced approach. We got some stocks, we got some bonds, U.S., international, got a little of everything in there, right? And then what would happen?
Well, and back when, you know, Morningstar would say that here's an amount you should be able to safely withdraw from that portfolio over time to maintain your principal and comfortably take income.
And that amount in those days was?
Right around 4%.
Right around 4.
Yep.
And you could take 4% and then each year, increase it with inflation or something, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you have $1 million, you put $1 million in this diversified portfolio, you take out $40,000 a year, you increase it with inflation over time, and life is good. And Morningstar says that works.
That would work.
Okay.
That would work.
Well, do we still do it today?
No.
Why don't you still do it today?
Well, first of all, when they were coming up with that rule, looking in a rearview mirror historically, we'd had 2 decades of unprecedented growth.
Right, like the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
Wasn't it fun investing back then? We couldn't lose.
Yes. So you had that on the stock side, right? And then on the bond side, you had interest rates that were declining.
Oh, so when bond values rise, when interest rates... So basically we have nirvana. It's utopia for investing for someone retired.
That's right. So back then, you could typically have a portfolio with 50% stocks, 50% bonds, and comfortably take 4%.
And you're in good shape. Now, same scenario today. So now you have roughly half in stock and roughly half in bond, give or take a little bit. What does Morningstar say that person could take for income today?
Now, this could have been adjusted, but it's now as recent as I've seen. The rate is as low as 1.7%.
So even if we're being aggressive on that, it's like 2 to 3%.
That's right.
So on our $1 million, now we can only take 20 or 30,000, and that's a factor because of what? Low interest rates and a volatile market. Is that that what it's all about?
Those 2 factors for the most part.
So I don't know a lot of people that are super excited about only pulling a couple percent or maybe even 3% a year, because I've seen that from others. I've seen nationally known investment firms talk about less than 3% on the same model. So the next thing we have is this flooring idea to try to counteract or plan in a low interest rate environment.
Right.
So what is that like? What's going on there?
Well, first of all, somebody's got to establish, what is their base income needs? What are all the things they're going to need to meet all what we would call their essentials, right? Housing, food, utilities, all these kind of items, healthcare. What is that number? Now, it's funny, when we do income planning, trying to get that number from somebody tends to be a little tough sometimes, right?
Oh, sure.
We might even have to have them put the pencil to the paper, but we have to know what that number is. Then the idea is simply this: if I know what my base income needs are, and I know what I can count on for guaranteed income like Social Security or pensions,
all right,
where am I going to make up the difference? Well, how I'm going to make up the difference is extrapolating a certain amount from my portfolio that will just be set up in accounts that will give me a guaranteed income.
Okay, so basically, if we were to, let's throw some numbers out there. Someone says to you, Larry, I've decided I want $7,000 a month, $6,000 a month, whatever that number is. I want $6,000 a month. I've got $3,000 between my wife and I in Social Security. Maybe I've got another $1,000 a month in pension or rental or something. I'm short $2,000 a month, and I've got this money set aside. What I'm hearing you say is, okay, you're going to take a chunk of that money, put it in something that guarantees that $2,000, so that at a minimum, their floor is satisfied.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, and then the rest of the money is for what?
Well, the rest of the money would be for those things like those extras, inflation, maybe future health care, that kind of
travel, like a cruise.
Yeah, house repairs, car repairs, those kind of.
Okay, so things that come up periodically, luxury items, letting the kids borrow money.
Sure.
We know how well that always works out.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
This gets paid back, right?
All righty, so that's systematic. We've got the floor covered, and so great information, Larry. Really appreciate it. Folks, here's the thing, don't go anywhere. We've got the first two covered. In the next segment, we're going to talk about bucketing approach. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm sitting here with Larry Flynn. Thanks for being here, Larry.
Thank you, Mike.
He's one of the advisors at Centennial Wealth Advisory. And folks, as you may know by now, we certainly invite you to come visit with us. It's absolutely free to get a second opinion on your retirement planning. And I think it's important to get a second opinion from someone who's a specialist when it comes to retirement planning. And Larry, I'm sure they're wondering, if they pick up the phone and they call and come visit with you, what can they expect? What's that experience like?
Well, Mike, they can expect not to get hard sold, okay? We're going to greet them warmly. We're going to sit down and talk to them a little bit about their story, where they're from, where they grew up, how they met their spouse, what they're dreaming of doing once they get soon to be retired or retired.
Kind of what are their goals, right?
Yeah, what are your goals? We're going to talk to them a little bit about who we are, what we do, show them how we do things, especially dealing in the market realities we find ourselves in today.
Got it. So essentially, they're coming in, you're learning a little bit about what's important to them, what their goals are, what they're trying to accomplish. I'm sure you're taking a look at what they're doing so far. You maybe share a little bit about you, and it's just in a very relaxed atmosphere.
That's right.
And there's no cost to do this. Is that correct?
No cost. No cost.
All right. So, folks, there you go. I mean, it sounds very simple, very easy, very laid back. There's no reason for you not to just pick up the phone, call the number on the screen, come visit us, get that second opinion. You'd be glad that you did.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
All right, this week on Chalk Talk, we're going to talk a little bit about an income model. Remember, this week we're talking about several income models. In this particular model, this is called the SIPS model, and SIPS stands for a Sequential Income Portfolio System. Okay, sequential income portfolio system. And the idea is really simple. It just means that you're taking your money in retirement, you're dividing it into different accounts that you're going to use at different periods of time. So for example, I'm going to put short-term, mid-term, and long-term here. And here's what that means. Here, I'm going to put years. You might say, I'm going to take a chunk of my money, maybe a certain amount, that will satisfy your income for the first 5 years of your retirement. So you might say, if you want $24,000 a year, $2,000 a month, you might say, okay, well, I'm not going to make much money in that account, so I'm just going to set just enough money in there to kind of cover the first 5 years. So that might be somewhere around, I don't know, $110,000, something like that, right? So you want $24,000. But then you think to yourself, well, gosh, that's short term, but mid-term, maybe 5 years from now, you might think that you want a raise. You don't want $24,000 a year anymore. Now you want, I don't know, $30,000 a year, say, right? So here we had 24 per year. Now you say maybe you want 30 because you're thinking, I want to have some, bump up because of inflation or something like that. And you think, how much money do I need to put here where it's just going to grow for 5 years and then it's going to pay out over 5 years? And at the end of 5 years, by the way, at the end of the first 5 years, this bucket's gone. At the end of the second 5 years, that bucket's gone. So you might say, gosh, again, I don't have a long time horizon. I have to invest that pretty conservatively. So you do the math. You say, well, gosh, 150K, but I can back up. Maybe you need, I don't know, 120. Now, by the way, in our office, if you like this approach, we have systems to help you figure this all out. But let's imagine that's the number, okay? Well, now I'm going to draw a big line right here, right? Now, why am I drawing a big line there? Because essentially, what have we just done? We've taken a portion of your money and we've created 10 years of income. So you now, with the rest of your money, have 10 years, you have longer term, where you can let that money grow without touching it, short of emergencies, etc. And remember, you probably should have already set aside some money in an emergency fund anyway, so you probably should have that taken care of. So now the rest of the money is for two things: your long-term income and what we would call extra income. What is extra? Extra is, whatever you didn't think about. Like, okay, I've got all this income coming in. It's covered pretty much everything. It included all these income streams. You had it set up. It included the travel you wanted to do. You factored in new cars, all the stuff you want to do. Extra is going to be stuff like, my kids needed money. It might be, hey, I want to go on an extra trip. It might be, oh boy, somewhere down the road, I need long-term care. It might be inflation got crazy on me. So there's a lot of things that the extra bucket might include. And so let's imagine that you're thinking to yourself, all right, at this point, I need the income to go up to $36,000 a year, and I want it to grow with inflation as well. Let's imagine that that's what you want. And so the question is, well, how much money has to be set aside to do that? And let's pretend, I don't know what the number is. I'm just going to throw a number up here. Let's pretend it's $400,000, right? I don't know what it would be. We're just throwing a number out there. So now you think, okay, well, I've got 110, 120, it's 250. I'm up 650,000. If you have 800,000 saved for your retirement, where's the other 150 go? It goes right here, right? That's your extra bucket. Maybe that's how you structure things. So now, I want to recap this so you understand what's happening. If I'm looking at a timeline, years 1 through 5, all of your income, 100% of your income is coming from right here. And at the end of the 5th year, this bucket is done. There is no money left over. Starting year 6, this bucket kicks in. It's already grown for 5 years. Now it's going to kick in for 5 years. Now you're 10 years into your retirement. At the end of 10 years, that bucket is now done. All the rest of your money's had 10 years to grow without being touched. At that stage, the long-term income bucket starts kicking in. That bucket might be structured in such a way that it's just going to generate income guaranteed for the rest of your life, perhaps. It may even be structured so it generates that income with an inflationary kicker. And then you've got the extra money out there. That extra money is to be used at any point along the way to help you with things that come up. Great model for retirement planning. It's another option for you. Certainly something that you can consider.
Have you ever heard of the 5% rule? Simple. Consistently earn 5% each year and then take 5% as income. Great, but in this new economy and market volatility, does it work? If I need 5% as income from my savings and the market drops 30% in 1 year, then the 5% I need now turns to 7.1%. Now I have to consistently get 7.1% or more or drop my income accordingly. If interested in a properly structured income plan, then please call the number on the screen.
Today's retirement challenges can be mastered. Knowledge is power because you can confidently plan ahead and make educated financial decisions for a successful and comfortable retirement. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, Northern Michigan's financial advisors specializing in retirement planning with offices in Traverse City, Petoskey, and Gaylord. And we invite you to an informative and exciting live event with a complimentary gourmet dinner. You'll learn how to use the new tax reform to your advantage, the best way to generate lifetime income, how to identify and manage financial challenges, how to reduce your tax liability and increase your cash flow, how to maintain growth opportunities and reduce risk, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, December 11th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City, or Wednesday, December 12th at the Otsego Grand Event Center in Gaylord. The live event starts at 6 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event. Educated financial decisions. Call 888-608-5825 today. Retiring Well is now also airing on radio, bringing you insights from Northern Michigan's financial advisors specializing in retirement planning. Every Sunday at noon on WTCM AM 580. Don't miss Retiring Well Radio, every Sunday at noon on WTCM AM 580.
Welcome back to Retiring Well, here with John Torbett and Art Canfield, financial advisors and senior partners at Centennial Wealth Advisory. And Mike and Larry have been doing a great job talking about the 3 retirement income planning scenarios that they went through. And so Art and I are going to talk a little bit more about income planning, especially when it comes to retirement. And one of the big things that comes to mind for me, Art, after being here for 13 years and meeting with people and understanding sort of the biggest hurdle I think they have is a mindset, is going from working for 40 plus years and earning that paycheck to now turning around and saying, okay, I've got this money I've saved, how do I turn that into an income stream? And that's a big hurdle for them mentally.
Oh yeah, I have to imagine, from going to that point where you have just that weekly bi-monthly paycheck coming in all the time, relying on that. Many people have worked for 40, 50 years of their lifetime and they're used to having that, to all of a sudden turning that off and then relying on this bucket of money, per se, to survive for your family for 20, 30, 40 years, however long that may be. It's a fundamental change, and not only in mindset, but then the financial piece, right?
Well, and that's the big thing that I come to is a lot of times advisors, I think, are just saying, oh, it'll be fine. You'll make 5, 6, maybe 7% a year, and don't worry about it, you can pull 4 or 5%. And in theory, that makes a lot of sense. You're just drawing the interest earnings, but a lot of times it comes to the times when the market doesn't cooperate. If you're putting all your eggs in one basket and you're fully into the market, that may not work all the time.
Oh yeah, think of your life. You know, when you first start working, you're doing things different. You're taking care of your body differently. You're seeing different doctors. As you age, life gets different. You know, your medical needs get different, and just your lifestyle changes. But yet, so many people we see never change their financials.
Right.
They are invested in the same way or doing the same stuff. You know, no longer are you doing a contribution anymore into that 401k IRA. You're now doing distributions, and that needs to change.
Right.
You know, that mindset, that investing philosophy needs to change for your plan to be successful long term.
And one word that comes to my mind, Art, is diversification. Us as financial advisors, you probably hear us all the time talk about diversification, and it's always of, you know, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, these different investment tools, but I think of it as from an income planning perspective, to diversify those different streams of income that you have coming in. So, I mean, you have potentially your Social Security, you may be fortunate enough to have a pension, but then how is your portfolio structured to generate income? Is it strictly relying on the stock market? You know, hopefully not, because that could be pretty scary at times. It's maybe important to have some money tucked aside in savings and use some of these other strategies out there to generate an income stream.
Yeah, what a great point. I mean, so often you're right. Financial advisors talk about diversification. Oh, don't worry, we got you diversified. Well, just simply being diversified doesn't mean that your income plan is going to be successful or have a high probability of success. You're exactly right. There needs to be different pieces set aside in different spots to be able to consistently generate that income to meet your daily living needs, to be able to do the goals and the desires you have in retirement.
Right, and that's where I think of, I mean, you want to hope for the best, but you want to plan for the worst. And that's a lot of times when I know when we're putting together plans, we're assuming, okay, let's assume you do a lot worse than historically things have gone, and let's plan for those different areas, so that way if things don't work out with the market the way they have been, especially in this bull run we've been seeing, if that doesn't, then maybe we need to look at other options.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you'd hate to see somebody, what if we get into, I mean, you think of like the 1999 through like, 2001, 2002, that time frame where basically the market was down consistently. What if you retired then? You know, how would that look? You know, would you be able to do the things you want to do, keep the lights on, pay the bills, and do the travel you want to do or whatever it is, versus maybe if you'd have retired 2 or 3 years ago when the market's been doing well? It's a lot different.
Oh, most definitely. And all we want to mainly communicate is that planning for retirement income is vital, and you should be working with someone that knows what that looks like and evaluates all those different hurdles that you may cross throughout your retirement income plan. So if there's something that we talked about today that caught your attention, feel free to give the number on the screen a call, and we look forward to talking with you soon. Thank you.